Now fighting on mat 3 is Violet Mafi and Sylvie Shizman. On deck is Neela Tuabia and Megumi Wells.
Now fighting is Ashlyn and Elizabeth. On deck is Hero and Shamil. Now fighting on mat number 2 is Hero and Shamil. On deck on mat number 2 is Lakin and Rama.
Now fighting on mat 1, Isla McDonald and Inessa Malik. Now fighting mat 1, Isla McDonald and Inessa Malik. On deck, mat 1, Luca Poirier and Ian Lizama. On deck, mat 1, Luca Poirier and Ian Lizama. Now fighting mat 1, Luca Poirier and Ian Lizama. Now fighting mat 1, Luca Poirier and Ian Lizama. On deck, mat 1, Andrea Ashcroft and Catherine Olea. On deck, mat 1, Andrea Ashcroft and Catherine Olea.
Now fighting on mat 3 is Mila Tuabia and Megumi Wells. On deck is Tegan McKenna and Sophie Durant.
Now fighting on mat 1, Andrea Ashcroft, and Catherine Olea. Now fighting mat 1, Andrea and Catherine. On deck, mat 1, Jordan Heath and Carson Dutai. On deck, mat 1, Jordan Heath and Carson Dutai.
Now fighting on mat 3 is Tegan McKenna and Sophie Durant. On deck is Zoe Sheehan and Megan Ward.
Can the winner of mat 1 come to Giuseppe? Winner of mat 1, please come to Giuseppe. Now fighting on mat 1, Jordan Heath and Carson Dutai. Now fighting mat 1, Jordan and Carson.
Just a reminder, we will be starting U14 female, minus 57 and 63 kgs, so make sure you're warmed up on mat 3.
On deck, mat 1, Miles Sangster and William Allenbach. On deck, mat 1, Miles Sangster and William Allenbach.
Now fighting on mat number 2 is Lakin and Rama. On deck on mat number 2 is Annabelle and Emily. Now fighting is Lakin and Rama. On deck on mat number 2 is Annabelle and Emily.
Now fighting on mat 3 is Zoe Sheeman and Megan Ward. On deck is Megumi Wells and Claire Oikel.
Now fighting on mat 1, Miles Sangster and William Allenbach. Miles and William on mat 1.
Okay. Lakin and Rama is fighting now. Mat 2. On deck is Annabelle and Emily.
On deck, mat 1 will be Isla McDonald and Mayela O'Neill. On deck, mat 1, Isla McDonald and Mayela O'Neill.
The winner between Lakin and Rama. The winner between Lakin and Rama, report.
Now fighting on mat 1, Isla McDonald and Mayela O'Neill. Isla McDonald and Mayela O'Neill. On deck, mat 1, Anessa Malik and Andrea Ashcroft. On deck, Anessa Malik and Andrea Ashcroft.
On deck on mat number 2 is Rama and Ashlyn. Rama and Ashlyn Kendall. Rama is on deck. We will be starting U18s very shortly. U18s, you will be starting soon. On deck on mat number 2 is Rama and Ashlyn Kendall. Now fighting on mat number 2 is Rama and Ashlyn Kendall. Now fighting on mat number 2 is Rama and Ashlyn. On deck on mat number 2 is Lakin and Elizabeth.
All right, now fighting on mat 3 is Megumi Wells and Claire Oikel. On deck is Libby Burnham and Fiona Fong Lewis.
Now fighting on mat number 2 is Lakin and Elizabeth. Lakin and Elizabeth, mat number 2. On deck on mat number 2 is Emily McDonald and Isabel Cole. Now fighting is Lakin and Elizabeth. Elizabeth Barsola, you are up now.
Now fighting on mat 1, Inessa Malik and Andrea Ashcroft. On deck, mat 1, Carson and Miles. Carson and Miles on deck, mat 1.
Now fighting on mat 3 is Libby Burham and Fiona Fong Lewis. On deck is Maria McCarran and Violet Mabee.
Now fighting on mat 1, Carson Duchai and Miles Sangster. Now fighting mat 1, Carson and Miles. On deck, mat 1 will be Catherine Olea and Mayela O'Neill. On deck, mat 1, Catherine and Mayela.
Now fighting mat 2 is Emily and Isabella.
Now fighting on mat 1, Catherine Olea and Mayela O'Neill. Now fighting mat 1, Catherine Olea and Mayela O'Neill.
U18s will be starting.
On deck for mat 3 is Beatrix Chedor and Eloise Godin.
Now fighting on mat number 2 is Jacob Bogomo and Elias McLean. On deck on mat number 2 is Isaac Chandler and Jackson Jefferson. Now fighting on mat number 2 is Jacob and Elias.
U18 males minus 90, you will be on mat 1. U18 males minus 66, you will be on mat 1. I'm going to start your sheet soon.
Also on mat 3 will be U18 male, minus 73.
Now fighting on mat number 2 is Jacob and Elias. On deck is Isaac Chandler and Jackson Jefferson.
Kingston Alexander and Owen Bilodeau, mat 1. Kingston Alexander and Owen Bilodeau, make your way to mat 1. On deck, mat 1 will be Catherine Olea and Isla McDonald. On deck, mat 1, Catherine Olea and Isla McDonald. Now fighting, mat 1 will be Kingston Alexander and Owen Bilodeau. Mat 1, Kingston Alexander and Owen Bilodeau.
Lynn Campbell, the U14s are not quite complete yet. Now fighting is Isaac Chandler and Jackson Jefferson. On deck is Makai Reddick and Yannick Sheeman.
Now fighting on mat 3 is Beatrix Chador and Eloise Godin. And also on deck for mat 3 is Thomas Campbell and Cash Perry.
U14 medals will be awarded soon. There's still some U14s fighting, but they will be awarded soon. Now fighting on mat number 2 is Makai Reddick and Yannick Sheeman. On deck on mat number 2 is Jackson Jefferson and Jed Kanoff. U18 minus 60 men, chart number 64. You will be coming up soon on mat number 2.
Winner of mat 1, please come to Giuseppe. Winner of mat 1.
Owen Bilodeau.
Winner of mat 1, please come to Giuseppe. Now fighting mat 1, Catherine Olea and Isla McDonald.
We are selling 50-50 tickets. Anybody that wants 50 tickets, we are selling them at the canteen.
On deck, mat 1 will be Carter Arsenault and Casey Bannerman. On deck, mat 1, Carter Arsenault and Casey Bannerman. Now fighting mat 1 is Catherine and Isla.
So it is U18 male right now on mat 3, and it's Thomas Campbell and Cash Perry. And on deck will be Sylvie Sheeman and Megan Ward.
Small change on mat 1. On deck will be Mayala Onel and Inessa Malik. On double deck will be Carter Arsenault and Casey Bannerman. On deck, Mayala and Inessa. Double deck, Carter and Casey. Sorry about that.
All right, now fighting on mat 3 is Sylvie Sheeman and Megan Ward. And on deck is Ava Wallfield and Libby Burham.
Now fighting on mat number 2 is Jackson Jefferson and Jed Kenoff. On deck on mat number 2 is Mohammed Turjev and Jacob Bogomol. Now fighting on mat number 2 is Jackson and Jed. On deck on mat number 2 is Mohammed and Jacob. Now fighting on mat number 2 is Mohammed Turjev and Jacob Bogomol. On deck on mat number 2 is Bryce Chapman and Nicholas Montero.
Now fighting on mat 1, Mayala Onel and Inessa Malik. On deck, mat 1, Carter Arsenault and Casey Bannerman.
Now fighting on mat 3 is Ava Wallfield and Libby Burham. And on deck is Fiona Fong-Lewis and Beatrix Chador.
Now fighting on mat number 2 is Bryce Chapman and Nicholas Montero. On deck on mat number 2 is Jed Kanoff and Isaac Chandler.